panelists are talking about the African Union. Should we say that the African Union is not doing its job? We've talked about economics, we've talked about education, we've talked about trade, and we've talked about politics. One might be tempted to say that the African Union is not doing its job. Is it, should I say, a useless organization, or are they doing their work effectively? Panelists, what do you think?
I will pick on that a little bit, Stanley, and that is a very interesting topic because of how broad it is. And I believe we all have different sentiments that we share towards the AU. Firstly, it is good to acknowledge the good that having such an organization in place is, right? It unifies people. It brings us as Africans, our leaders, together to fight for a common good, which is to empower the African, to make sure that they have the economic independence that they need, their social welfare is being taken care of, and of course that the political sovereignty of our countries remains as is. But unfortunately, I think the African Union, it has potential to do better because we are looking at the African Union competing with organizations such as the EU, right? And we look at how far the European Union has come and we compare that with the African Union. European Union right now is strong because of, I guess, the economic structures that it has put in place for European countries to benefit from that. Putting other factors aside, of course, like colonialism and how I think one of our panelists talked about the extractive nature of this, how these colonialists, they benefited from extracting raw materials from Africa. Yes, putting that factor aside, how else has African Union contributed to having the African countries back up on their feet in order to tackle the issues, I guess, the after post-colonial issues that arise after we got our independence? So you find that such an organization with so much potential, instead of it asserting, I guess, the structural needs that African countries actually need to have in place, it has taken a back seat and has depended majority of the time on the West, either for foreign aid or either for it to have certain policies detected by the West. And it has turned a blind eye to the specific and unique needs of African countries. So this comes from politics where we have civil wars. It's very rare for us to hear that African Union has intervened when we have issues of police brutality or when we have uprisings or when we have, the youth protesting. I know for a fact in Zimbabwe in 2018, 2019, when we had the whole coup, that was not a coup. African Union did not do much in trying to step in or sending any diplomatic services to try to mitigate the issue. So you find that even in the smallest of matters, it is not doing much in order to apprehend anything that might be a stumbling block for the progression or for the growth of its African member states, and which is very unfortunate because it has potential. This is something I mentioned in the last panel that we had, the need to have the ideals of Pan-Africanism being put aside and being manifested into a reality, which has not been done even by AU. Yes, there's a plan in place. They talk about, Agenda 2063, wanting to see everybody economically independent, eradicating poverty. But now it comes down to the how. How are we going to do that? Realistically speaking, bringing all these states together with their unique problems, how are we going to make sure that we reach this agenda of making sure that each African on the continent is at least living above the poverty line? So in as much as it is a good organization to have, it has been sitting on its potential and it has the potential to do better and be competing with other regional forces such as the European Union. This is my opinion. So back to you, Stanley.
Thank you very much, Tatenda.